Thank you for joining us today for another installment of Frost & Sullivan's exciting podcast series, highlighting key disruptive technologies, growth opportunities, economic trends, emerging geographies, and much more. I'm Neha Anna Thomas, Senior Economist with the Emerging Market Innovation Team, and today we will be focusing on the 2025 outlook for the US economy. Our research on this topic has been designed to better prepare decision makers for multiple scenarios that could potentially unfold in the light of major recent US policy upheavals, upcoming presidential elections, changing world dynamics, and so on. So moving on, looking at the political scenario, increasing focus, of course, is now being directed towards the 2020 presidential elections and potential policies. We're already seeing a lot of proposals like Medicare for All, universal childcare, and student loan debt relief being put forward by candidates. Potential implementation of these policies is likely to come attached with higher taxes for Americans. Millionaires especially could see their taxes rise. On the burning issue of US-China trade wars, we see that most of the key Democratic presidential candidates support a tougher stance against China, but disagree with the current strategy of the US on account of damage caused by tariffs to the US economy. Looking at minimum wages, there seems to be broad support in raising the federal minimum wage from $7.25 to $15. If implemented, nearly a third of the US's manufacturing workers and a fourth of the country's healthcare workers are expected to see pay rises. Now, there's obviously been a lot taking place with regards to the US's trade policy. Apart from the impact of US-China trade wars, our research also focuses on NAFTA 2.0, formerly known as the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement or the USMCA, and a potential US-UK post-Brexit deal. Both the outlook for US-China trade wars and USMCA come with multiple scenarios attached. Looking at trade wars, for instance, it remains to be seen if China will retaliate to the US's recently announced tariffs. And if that unfolds, we would have a trade war intensification scenario. On the USMCA front, it remains to be seen as to whether the US Congress ratifies the new trade deal or whether the US pushes for renegotiation of USMCA. Potential ratification and enforcement of USMCA should boost car and parts manufacturing in particular in the US, given that automotive rules of origin requirements have been tightened. With regards to a US-UK post-Brexit deal, any formal negotiations on the same are only expected to take place starting November 2019 or later, with the US potentially looking at securing duty-free access for its industrial exports to the UK. Moving over to the GDP and consumption side of things, some of the key areas that our research analyzes include the US's scenario-based GDP growth prospects and American consumer spending patterns. We also analyze the outlook for the US dollar and examine the question of whether trade wars could eventually lead to currency wars. We'd be happy to connect with you to explain more details about the scope and the impact of our US economy 2025 research. On that note, I hope you've enjoyed this session. Please join us for future podcasts and become a member of Frost & Sullivan's Leadership Council by emailing us at digital@frost.com. Thank you for your time.